Okay, I think that we can start. It's 11 a.m. And I would like to welcome you all to the Younium webinar on the topic of connectors and APIs for subscription management. We are really happy to have you all today with us, and thank you for joining us. And of course, thank you for taking your time to be today at this webinar. And we are really looking forward to learn something new on this topic. My name is Hervoje, and I'm a demand generation manager here at Younium. I will be your host today. And along with me, I have also Bjorn, who is head of product and who will take the lead in today's presentation. And for Q&A part, we have our founder and CEO, Niklas. So I really hope that you will have some interesting questions for him later at the end of the webinar. But before we start, let me just go into a bit of housekeeping points to mention those. We will run around 40 minutes, so the webinar will be total 40 minutes of the time. And don't worry if you miss on something, we are also recording the webinar, so we will send you the recording once it is available via email. If you would like a presentation, feel free to reach out to our head of marketing, Emily, and we are going to also send you the presentation after the webinar. As mentioned, we will have the Q&A part that is reserved for the end of the webinar, and we will have one poll in the middle somewhere, so also to be a bit engaged during the webinar. Okay, let me then give the floor to Bjorn. Bjorn, the mic is yours. Feel free to take the webinar.
Thank you, Hervoje. So this is the agenda for today. First, we will make a quick walkthrough of the subscription hub and why it's needed. And then we will go into today's topic of connectors. And we start looking at typical platforms that you would connect your subscription hub to and what data that are integrated. We will also look at some use cases for integration with your own service. And after that, we also look at a real world example. And in the end, we have the Q&A session, as mentioned. And please write your questions in the Q&A section of the webinar system. So what is the subscription hub? And we have to look at maybe traditional processes first. And the core process of the traditional business models, they have been very linear and for a long time been based on a set of processes where you get a customer order, you make often a single order confirmation back, you do some kind of delivery, you send an invoice, you receive a payment. And when this is complete, the process is done and the whole case can be archived. That's very different from subscriptions. And there has been, for a long time, been very strong platforms that support this scenario. System-wise, it's normally some kind of sales or CRM platform in conjunction with an ERP system that handles this order to payment process. But with new ways of doing business, a subscription contract is negotiated and a new set of business events trigger the changes to the subscription, and the contract can never be archived or, not be active anymore until, of course, it's canceled by the customer or renegotiated in some way and replaced. Also, the subscription contract has normally a recurring invoicing as part of it. That's natural. And since it also lives over a long time, the pricing models are often very different and more complex and has built-in tiers to support the growth of the customer during the life cycle of the contract. So with this in mind, it's been clear that in addition to the traditional platform, there's a need for a purpose-built subscription hub that owns this long-living subscription contracts and all the related data to this contract. But to get this as a well-working process across the whole of your business, this platform needs to work together with the other platforms that are still needed for your business and often also needs to be integrated with your own service. So this is a bit why we see the need of a subscription hub, because it's not supported in the traditional platforms. But this webinar is about connecting the subscription hub to other platforms. So then we will look at what kind of data that's in the subscription platform and may then be integrated with the other systems. Of course, this can differ on your type of business, but in general, we talk about customer data. So that will be all the relevant business data, financial data for your customers, everything we need to process contracts, orders, and invoices. And it's all the nitty-gritty details of your customer contracts. So that includes all the product models, the products you sell, the pricing models you offer, and all the detailed terms that you have negotiated with your customers. It is also usage data. Often this is consumption based and from your service and used for billing. It's all the incoming orders, and that's hopefully have a lot of new customer orders, but in subscriptions you have also upsells, so you sell additional quantities, modules, products, or things that you add on to the existing subscription contract. It can also be downgrades as well, of course. You will have cancellations and churn, and you will for sure have financial data. That can be accounting data from invoices, revenue recognition data for sure, and in some cases also all the accounts receivable data that will live in the subscription hub. So this data is normally originated from a number of sources in the, you can say, existing system landscape or in the traditional systems, such as spreadsheets, your own service, and then also these traditional ERP and CRM platforms. And there are huge values of combining them into the specifically built platform, the subscription hub. So, Roy, we have a poll here.
Yeah, let us start the poll. So, how do you? Just a minute. Okay, it's up. How do you store your subscriptions? And so we gave you a few of the answers here. What you can also pick based on how you are doing it. So ERP, CRM, spreadsheets, or subscription platform. Okay, we are going to give you a few more seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, the results are coming in. Few more? No? Okay, let's.
Cool. So yeah, we can see here in the results, it's evenly spread out. Less spreadsheets that I often see or envision. Maybe we have very interested participants in this webinar. We see even Stephen here between the subscription platform CRM and the ERP, but we can see that, yeah, this data is normally spread out in the different platforms. So that's very interesting to see. So I will continue then talking about different kind of connectors. We use the word connectors for the integrations between the subscription hub and the other platforms. And I will start here with standard connectors and integrations. Standard here means that they are ready to use connectors. That does not have to be built by yourself. If we look at across all the customers where I have implemented subscription management, there are 3 platforms to begin with: the CRM and sales platform, the ERP platform, and your own service. And all of them have their own benefits and challenges, and that's what we will look at now in more in detail. We start then with the CRM side. What we do is we provide visibility to sales and account managers and customer success staff to the subscription data. So that's the first level. And if you can see in the screenshots, you can see examples here from HubSpot and Salesforce. where the CRM users has access to the live data from subscription system when looking at the customer. So 2 models here. One is to do live integrations to directly show 100% up-to-date data in the CRM system that's live fetched from a subscription system. That's huge benefit that you know that you always have the real latest data. The other way to do it is to import and store the data in the CRM system. So it's a bit deeper integration. The benefit is that you can also maybe do more reporting on the data in the CRM platform, but obviously it's a bit more integrations to set up and make sure they are running. So that's normally the first step to get data out to the users in the CRM platform, to also get this 360 view that you often benefit from in the CRM system. As a next step, it's often to streamline and automate the quote to order process. And to do that, it's about synchronizing products and services and converting the CRM deals and CRM opportunities to ready to build subscriptions. So that means taking a deal or an opportunity from CRM and get that into an active subscription in the subscription platform. There are some challenges here. The most difficult part is normally to implement the changes to existing subscriptions. And there are many reasons for that. One is because this is normally not like a native process in the CRM. They were traditionally built for making a new sale. And the CRM often lack the contract concept and the contract objects, especially for this kind of subscription data. So what we do, we spend a lot of effort on this and these kind of components in the CRM. And we can also see that this is a place where those customers we meet that first built their own platforms or solutions for the subscription management find a lot of challenges and a lot of work to implement this kind of thing. If we will look at the ERP side, we see some different strategies for integrations. If a customer has multiple revenue streams, that means you may have subscription business, you may have some sort of normal sales business, you may have a consulting business as well. You may want to set up what we call a deeper integration where all the invoices from subscription are directly synchronized into ERP invoices, and the ERP system own the full receivable process. However, there's a big trend. We see that specifically with more modern young SaaS companies, that they tend to move the invoice creation and the receivables out of the ERP system for this kind of business and just implement what we call a GL integration with monthly or daily journals that updates the general ledger in the ERP system, and the receivable is taken out of there. Because that enables a new level, we can say, agility and flexibility in the processes, because you don't need to align your subscription billing and subscription invoices to the traditional structures that are in the ERP systems, especially the more, we can say, older ones. And that is really the biggest challenge we meet all the time, that the ERP system are traditionally built with traditional data structure, how an invoice is generated, for example. As the most easy example, always to look at it, that an invoice price is always the combination of a quantity and a unit price. And there's no time concept in this. There are no 12 months as part of this price that's needed, to calculate the correct price for a subscription invoice. So here you often need to simplify things in some cases. You can also see some of the different ERP platforms that we have standard connectors to here on the screen. And in addition, now we talked about ERP, CRM. In addition to those, we often configure other connectors, and that depends, of course, on the customer needs. We can see some examples here. Some of them, just because your type of business maybe, but also can be based on local regulations and specific needs in different geographies and markets. For example, for e-invoices, that can be key for maybe the Nordic region. where that can be regulated by the government for some customers. It can also be that you are operating in the United States and needs to add sales tax to your invoices, and for sure there you want to use an external service to calculate that. Something we also see a big trend in is connecting the subscription platform to business intelligence and reporting platforms. And there is the benefit of combining this data with the data that's not stored in the subscription system. That can be sales forecasts or cost calculations, for example. So that's something we see in almost all bigger customers. So these are standard connectors. Normally they are out of the box and configurable, and in most cases also the receiving system is a standard system, a cloud system. But the final bit is usually to integrate your own service with the subscription hub. And that enables a lot of different benefits across several areas, not only finance. One piece that's often related to finance is the consumption and usage data from the service hub, or for the service to the subscription hub. That means that you want to bill your customer based on their consumption. Obviously you need that data there. But it can also be to give end users visibility to their subscription terms and invoices and payments. And in addition to that kind of self-service, you can provide more self-service capabilities so your customers can buy add-ons and upgrades and new licenses, as well as also, of course, receiving new customer signups. Maybe that's from your product, maybe that's from your website, but that's an important piece as well. And in the other direction, we also see that customers automate the provisioning in your service based on new orders. So that means you get a new customer signing up, you create a subscription, and you automate the provisioning of a new client in your service and the user access and such. That's the most common scenarios we implement now. And if we'll quickly look on the technical side, this is not a technical webinar in that aspect. The most common way is still to use the available REST API web services, so standardized web services to create and read and update data in and out of the subscription platform. However, this is often based around the concept of scheduled jobs and batches. To get away from that and to implement what we call near real-time integrations, then you want to build event-driven integrations. That would mean that you subscribe to an event in the subscription platform and can build automatic integrations based on that. An example there would be that you subscribe to the event of a new subscription activated in the subscription system. So a new customer, a new order. You subscribe to that. So you mean you will be technically notified in your service that now you have a new order being activated. And you can create that as a user account, a tenant, or similar in your service. And that can then be enabled with a webhook framework, which is the standard for that. Something we also see is a big trend in using, we can say, ready-to-use middlewares. That's integration platforms. That's already integration is already done in building blocks, where you as a customer can drag and drop to create simple data transfers. One example there is Zapier. We and Younium have done a connector to Zapier with building blocks, and you as a customer can benefit from that and build out integration in Zapier to other services or to your own service. So a lot of theory talking about subscription hub, about standard connectors, about integrating your own service. But now we can look at a customer case. So we'll showcase a little bit from a real world example. Our customer here in the EdTech industry had, and this is almost similar for all our customers, there's a disconnect between the service they provide and the finance and billing process, which then led to manual processes, spreadsheets in between that has to be manually updated. And also sometimes it was here missed revenue because customers was not sort of automatically billed for all their usage of the service. Both CRM and ERP platforms was evaluated and tried with, but in the end it was identified that a purpose-built platform that combined the data from service, from CRM, to ERP was needed here. And really what happened, the end result was that it was an automated billing process with usage data from the platform, so the EdTech platform, into the subscription hub for billing. We were able to streamline the whole renewal process, so the customer has self-service capabilities of ordering additional licenses. We will look at that soon here. And also implemented one source of truth database for the subscription data, which is integrated into a data warehouse for reporting and KPIs and combining all this data with other data in other platforms. One of the coolest things with this project is that it's done in a true global environment. So there are end customers and end users in 114 countries around the world using this service. So that's what the challenges and what we did, and we can have a quick look at how it was implemented in reality with some anonymized screenshots here. So what we can see here is this is implemented as a billing tab in the administration interface. So the end user's admin interface has a billing tab. And all of this data is fetched from the subscription system live. And it covers simple details such as this is the current billing email. You can see who is your account manager. But also information about, these are the renewals that are upcoming. These are exactly the specific products I subscribe to right now. How many licenses do I have? How many do I use? And there's also the possibility for the end user to adjust the number of needed licenses up for the next renewal, which means in reality ordering new licenses. In this case, the customers are schools. So it's really adjusting the number of students that require a license for the next renewal. This has previously been manual process, so now we're able to automate the whole renewal process and also receiving upsells directly from the platform. You can also see the invoices, and since we're here, also use credit card payment gateway as a connector. If the invoice is not yet paid, the customer can click and pay the invoice directly from this interface. One really cool thing with this, as mentioned, is that everything is live. So when the customer opens this admin page or tab, everything is queried live to the subscription hub, so the customer always gets 100% up-to-date and accurate details. This is one example of how this can be implemented and can bring a lot of value. Self-service just for information to the end user, but also bring in additional revenue that the customer can handle renewals and order more licenses and add-ons by themselves. Here we can see a quote from our customers, and I'm very thankful that they allow us to show this for you, and also being a reference customer. So we're getting to the end of this webinar, and before the Q&A session, we can summarize this with some key takeaways. Going back to the beginning of the webinar, the subscription hub is the central platform that handles all these challenges with subscription data that does not fit into the traditional platforms, and all these new processes that are also not supported really in the traditional platforms. But connecting this subscription hub to the other platforms, with that, you can realize a lot of benefits across your organization. Not only finance, it's about provisioning, it's about more sales and growing as well. You should aim to use standard connectors when connecting to standard platforms. That means often in CRM and ERP, use best practice connectors and do not build on your own, because there's also a lot of maintenance in going into this. But you should integrate your own service, because that will allow both you and your customers to benefit from this subscription data in all these different areas. So that was a summary. Next step, let's see if we have any questions from the audience. If you have, I think you can open the Q&A section and write your question.
Yeah, we'll do so. Thank you so much, Bjorn, for this really, really insightful presentation. I really like the parts also on the CRM. Very, very nice. But as you mentioned before, we go into the Q&A part with Niklas, and you can place your questions in the chat box. I will just take 1 minute of the time and to introduce also Younium and also to say something about us. So we are founded in Sweden in 2017. Currently, we have offices in Amsterdam, Stockholm, and Malmö. And you can see some of our customers below. So we are working with customers from all around. And what is our specialty? Our specialty is that we are dealing with B2B scenarios. So that's our specialty. So also that, just to point out that bit, yeah, so that's the specialty. And I would like also to invite you all, if you would like to learn more, in the chat box, we also share the link to our knowledge page. So feel free to browse around there, feel free to explore our blogs, our guideline books. We really hope that you will maybe find something insightful for you. We shared our data, we shared some information what we gathered through all of the years. Especially, for example, Bjorn mentioned the subscription hub. We have an interesting piece about that. Or you can maybe explore the piece on the metrics and KPIs for subscription businesses. So just to give you a bit of like info what you can share, what you can find there. Okay, also we have the LinkedIn page. Feel free to follow us there. We will be really, really happy to connect with all of you. And as mentioned, we will share the recording of the webinar after when it's available, and feel free to share that with your colleagues, of course. Okay, let's then go over to Niklas with the Q&A part. Hi, Niklas.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. So we have one question, and I think this was kind of we were expecting this one, because we got a few questions already before, and this was also the motivation why to have this webinar. And that's connected. What are your capabilities in integrating Salesforce and HubSpot?
Great question. I think it's been mentioned a bit before, but I think there are especially two main areas. One is how can we use the accurate data that we have around subscriptions for the people working in the CRM system. So that could be, for example, an account executive. How really push that data into the CRM so they have the up-to-date information, not what they sold 3 years ago, but really the accurate, up-to-date information to make good decisions when meeting customers. And the other part is more around how can we automate and be more efficient in the quote-to-cash process, not being in the situation where we first do the deal and then have to do everything manual once again to get all the data into the subscription management system, but really to align that and make it more efficient. So those are the typical two scenarios. Mm-hmm. And of course, as you all know, Salesforce is a big platform, so there are definitely more tweaks to that, for instance. But yeah.
Interesting. And we have one more here, and that's connected to the, do you need to build a technical integration to start with billing usage-based products?
Great question. So no, I think everyone sort of in the long run would like to have it very automated and integrated, and the true vision of everything just being done automatically. But I think in the real life scenarios, there are other ways like importing usage from CSV files. It could also be manual entries at times. So while the goal is to really have it automated, there are other ways of importing it or manual input. Perhaps worth mentioning is also that it's one thing if you have your own service that provides you with the usage data. You can usually, have a lot of freedom integrating it and doing it by yourself. But we also have customers who have external services, like they send SMSs, but they don't produce the SMSs themselves, so they have an associated cost. But they might not always have all the options of integrating it. So definitely you need sort of the flexibility to get your usage input in various ways. So there are definitely different steps to take on that journey.
And also mentioned there 1 or 2 months ago, we also implemented this kind of possibilities from the Zapier platform to integrate usage and measurement, that we call it. So there is more flexibility there to take it from Google spreadsheets and those kind of things in a more automated way. So it's a really important area for us to provide relevant options for the customers.
That's it for the questions. Yeah, that's it for the questions.
Great.
Thanks everyone for joining, and thanks Niklas for the Q&A part. Bjorn, thank you for the presentation. As said, we will send the recording. If someone has maybe a question, you can still, we have like 5 minutes more of time. So if you would like to ask something, feel free to do it in the chat box. If not, we will say goodbye and also invite you to check our LinkedIn page for upcoming webinars. Check our YouTube channel for maybe some other webinars what you missed. And yeah, that's that. Wish you all a nice week and hope to talk to you soon.